So when you think of Aardman Animation, you usually think of Wallace and Gromit, Chicken Run, Flushed Away, Shaun the Sheep, Arthur Christmas, you know. But there's one project that put under their name that's not technically theirs, sort of, on the original DVD releases. It says it's by Aardman. In fact, though not technically an Aardman production, several of the company's staff did work on it, so it has that Aardman-esque visual style. So this not Aardman, but kind of sort of his project is Robbie the Reindeer. And you might be familiar with this if you watch it on if you've watched it on CBS for many, many years. I mean, it was something that they aired all the time up until late last year. But my first time ever seeing this was when they showed the original BBC version on Fox Kids, just about a year or two before CBS eventually re-aired it with a completely different voice cast. But we'll get to that in just a moment here. But Robbie the Reindeer. These are a series of 3 animated holiday specials, and each one is very different from what is. And for the most part, I've only ever seen 2 of them. I hadn't seen the third one for the longest time, mostly because the third one never really came around here. When you saw it on CBS, they would only just show the first 2 specials, and then that's it. But yeah, it took me a long time to even realize that there was a third one. But so, Robbie the Reindeer is about the lazy, overweight son of an implied but never explicitly mentioned nor seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In fact, every time, someone tries to bring up his name, it goes like, just like his father, and someone's covering his mouth, it's a fun little running gag that they have, especially early on in the first special. And whilst his father's nose lights up Robbie's work as a worldwide tracking device that assists him in locating the North Pole, he hopes to join Santa Claus's famed team of reindeer. He's depicted as being an underdog character due to his lazy personality aspects, but is trained under the tutelage of elderly reindeer coach Old Jingle for the reindeer games. Other characters featured in the story are based on several traditional reindeer depicted on Santa Claus's team, including Vixen, Robbie's attractive original love interest, who later he abandons in favor of Donna, who is also depicted as being female, Prancer, a male reindeer, Donner, Robbie's later love interest and wife, and Blitzen, the primary antagonist of the first and second films, who bitterly despises Robbie's famous father for overtaking his position as the head reindeer and frequently conspires against Robbie out of vengeance. And as I mentioned, Rudolph is not mentioned by name strictly because of copyright reasons, and I'll delve into how clever the jokes are more in that about later on here. But in the original British production, Robbie is voiced by Ardell O'Hanlon and was narrated by Robbie Williams. Other voices are being provided by Jane Horrocks, who you remember as Babs in Chicken Run, Steve Coogan, Paul Whitehouse, Harry Enfield. Jeff Goldblum appears in the second special, The Legend of the Lost Tribe. David Attenborough also appears in this, as well as Alistair McGowan and Ricky Gervais, among the others. This is a co-production of Comic Relief, so you have a lot of people from Comic Relief involved in this, and the executive producer of this was actually Richard Curtis, who of course is the man that gave us such things as Notting Hill, Bridget Jones's Diary, and Love Actually. And like I said, this first originally aired on Fox Family back in the early 2000s, and then later appeared on Fox Kids in 2000, which was the first time I ever saw it. But then CBS picked up the rights to it in 2002, and they started bringing in the American actors to play the roles. And I mean, they got some of the biggest names around when this was coming on TV. I mean, you got Ben Stiller voicing Robbie. You had other characters like Hugh Grant playing Blitzen. In fact, Grant largely imitated Coogan and kept the character's British accent. You had Britney Spears as Donner, Leah Remini from The King of Queens as Vixen, Jim Belushi, who at that time was on According to Jim, as Santa Claus, the NFL on CBS team Dick Enberg and Dan Dierdorf as Des Yeti and Alan Snowman, Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond as Prancer, and Stiller's father Jerry as Old Jingle, and also a talking garbage bag. And not only that, he also had James Woods as the narrator, and he actually has a couple of roles in the second special as well, along with Rob Paulson and a couple of other notable voice acting names if you look closely in the credits. So CBS aired it for a couple of years, and then they decided to bring it back over on TV in 2016, and they have been around since then. And both of them, and it used to be on CBS all the time up until this past Christmas, where they decided not to air it anymore. But then again, by the time it stopped airing, CBS had basically kind of stopped airing all of the classic holiday specials, like Rudolph and Frosty had moved to NBC, and Robbie the Reindeer was on in 2024, and then the following year, gone. So as of right now, there is no other way to watch this except to find it on YouTube or find it on DVD and all that. And I'll say this, the 2 versions of this are very off and different. Like, if you saw the original, original specials in particular, lines of dialogue are definitely changed over for the American audiences. Like in the original version, you hear somebody saying that you're chucked, but in the American version, it's just like you're out of here. Like lines like that get changed around and very much in both of the specials. But and let's just say right now, the original version is definitely the better version. The American version is basically just take every recognizable talent in Hollywood in 2002 and just bring them all in for simple name recognition. So if you're gonna watch any version of this, watch the original British versions. But what about the specials themselves? Let's go through them one by one, shall we? So starting off, we have in Hooves of Fire, Robbie arriving at the North Pole in hopes of finding work on Santa's sleigh team when he is instantly besotted with a beautiful but icy doe named Vixen and becomes acquainted with several other celebrated reindeer, including Prancer, Donner, and Blitzen, who bitterly envies Robbie's father, of course for overtaking his position as the lead reindeer of the team, and schemes against his rival son in his goal to win the upcoming anticipated reindeer games. Robbie then meets an elderly, formerly well-known coach known as Old Jingle, convinced that he could assist him in attaining the goal of winning the reindeer games. But later he winds up sacrificing his dreams to help his coach in a time of need after his home slides from a slope. Although Robbie is able to compete against Blitzen, who has secretly taken performance-enhancing substances in defiance of the rules of the game, he winds up barely losing a race. However, after Blitzen's secret is revealed, he is imprisoned and Robbie is crowned a winner by default, ending the special with a romantic evening with his true romantic interest in Donner, on the moon for some reason. Like, they decide to take Santa basically gives him the keys to the sleigh for the night, and he just says, let's go to the moon, why not? Maybe we'll find Wallace and Gromit up there looking for cheese, but it's a really good special. I really like it. The animation is really good. You can tell that it is the animation style of Wallace and Gromit, and expanded it, and it made it much easier to create these faster-paced animated sequences through the incredibly tough process of claymation. The jokes are really good, too. There's a brilliantly hilarious job. They do such a brilliantly hilarious job. Let's go with that. A brilliantly hilarious job of coming up with these references. Like, there's a great gag with a seal song being sung by an actual seal. And there's a really good running gag, which because they can't say Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, anytime somebody's about to say their name, they just cover the character's mouth. Even when it's just two people in one shot, a third hand will just come out of nowhere going like, don't say that name. And even they were looking like, what the hell just happened here? Like even little gags. Like, there's a great bit where Santa's showing off his new sleigh, and he talks about some of the features on there, and one of the features on there is an intelligent ashtray, and the ashtray just going like, it sounded like a robot, don't smoke, you idiot. Like, it goes back inside the thing. Like, it's a small scene, but it makes me laugh every single time I see it. And I'll admit, there are some pretty adult gags in this, such as a scene with, like I said, the intelligent ashtray, right down to a pretty extreme sex joke right in the middle that I was kind of surprised they actually got away with here. Like you don't see it if you watch the version that was on Fox Kids or CBS, but if you watch the original version if you watch the DVD version, it's definitely on there. And once you hear it, it's just kind of like, wow, man. I mean, they definitely got away with that one for sure, but as far as the story goes, it's about as standard as you can get. Essentially, an underdog story who has to become the big hero of the day. But it's really good. It's nicely animated, very funny, a decently told story, and a pretty enjoyable little special overall. Then you have the sequel, which is Legend of the Lost Tribe, which the first time I saw it was when CBS aired it. So the first time I ever saw that was with all the American actors coming back for that one. So I never saw the original one that features the original British cast overall. So in this one, Robbie and the other reindeer now run a bankrupt holiday resort. While rescuing a tourist, Robbie falls off of a cliff and is rescued by a Viking who then disappears. Meanwhile, Blitzen returns and captures the reindeer, turning them into robots with specially remote-controlled hats. Robbie is the only one to escape as he seeks the aid of the last remaining Viking tribe, whose diminutive members are all named Magnus. He brings them out of their shame and agrees to help them. He discovers that the reindeer have been put into an exhibit at Blitzen's Reindeer World. Robbie rescues them, and Blitzen is once more jailed. And, The Legend of the Lost Tribe, once again, is directed by somebody who works at Aardman, Peter Peak, whose credits include the animated short Captain Sarcastic and the Oscar-nominated short Humdrum. And you can definitely tell this one was trying to be like Wrong Trousers for Wallace and Gromit, a sequel to a fun little short with bigger effects, a bigger storyline, and more of an emphasis on action-adventure, right down to a scene that's literally parodying Return of the Jedi towards the end. It's still got its funny moments overall. The animation still looks really good, but again, kind of like with the first special, the overall story is just, it's more mediocre this time around, and a lot of it is very predictable. The first special at least was clever enough to have a lot of scenes seem predictable, but have these clever twists to them to keep it flowing better. Here it's just kind of a mixed bag, and again, a little too predictable for its own good. And like I said, for the longest time, I never saw the third special, mostly because I didn't even know there was a third special overall. But Close Encounters of the Herd Kind takes place on the night before his wedding to Donner. Robbie picks up an alien crystal that falls from the sky, and during the wedding, a voice telepathically warns him of the end of the world, and he runs out mid-ceremony in panic. Robbie finds that the voice belongs to Gary, with, what is it, like 7 eyes or something like that. Gary, who is voiced by Michael Palin, he's an Earth Guardian who warns him that an alien race named the Nargathons plan on destroying Earth and that Robbie's crystal powers their ultimate weapon. And moments before dying, he tells Robbie to hide the Nargathon crystal and leaves his telepathy device. At the Slate team's home, Nargathon Queen Vorkana being played by Gillian Anderson from the X-Files, arrives and kidnaps Donna when she refuses to give Robbie's location. Prancer, Old Jingle, and Tapper find Robbie, and the 4 of them discover the spaceship. They fly to the Nargathon ship where he's imprisoned with Donner, and the others take the crystal back to their home, where Donner's sister M reveals that she is a government agent who specializes in extraterrestrial life. She's able to connect with the Earth Guardians using the crystal, but is soon found by the Nargathons, and with the crystal, the Nargathons count down the destruction of Earth. Robbie uses the telepathic device to trick the guards into freeing Donner and himself, then uses the ship to teleport Donner back to Earth. Robbie tells Vorkana instead of standing on the ship's teleport pad and sending her to M, who knocks her out. Robbie escapes the ship just moments before it's destroyed by the Earth Guardians and uses the telepathy device to complete his wedding ceremony. So once again, kind of like with Legend of the Lost Tribe, kind of following in the same format of the Wallace and Gromit shorts, where, the action's going to get bigger and bigger as the specials go along here. And you could say that Close Encounters of the Third Kind is quite literally the equivalent to a close shave, being the more epic adventure that these characters have been on to this point. And once again, not quite. It's more. I'll give it this. It's more ambitious this time around than the Legend of the Lost Tribe is. But even then, it really isn't It's not the greatest overall. It's not terrible, but it's just definitely one where it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, it's over. I mean, I'm glad I finally got to see it overall. I'm glad I got to see, what the special was for the longest time. And it has some good once again, a lot of good animation to it overall. And it is a lot of fun overall, just to see how the animation is well done by Aardman overall. A really good voice cast in this one, too. Not only Gillian Anderson and Michael Palin, but Keira Knightley plays M. Ozzy Osbourne plays the Vicar in this. Graham Norton is the computer. Russell Brand is the Earth Guardian. And they do a pretty good job with the voices overall. I mean, I'll give it this. It's definitely more ambitious and more enjoyable than the Legend of the Lost Tribe one is. But, if I want to pick the best one of the bunch, the first one, Who's the Fire, to me, is definitely the strongest one of the bunch overall. But all of them are still pretty fun regardless. These 2 specials overall, about what you'd expect for a typical Aardman production. Fun, greatly animated, nicely told stories, likable characters, surprisingly quick-witted jokes that appeal to both kids and adults as well. It's quite enjoyable for the most part, but like I said, avoid the American version if you can, and just go find the British versions. Those are the ones I would say are definitely the must-watch versions of this story in particular. If you're going to pick the best one, the first one's pretty good, but I'd say watch the second ones for curiosities. The second and third ones for curiosity's sake, but, yeah, very underrated specials. Might as well give them a little bit of a nod here for Christmas in July. So, check them out this holiday season.